Hello, welcome to my channel, Sea of Infinity. So in this video, I just wanted to, recap such a important message, almost like a little reminder, if you will, of, releasing fear, releasing worry, remembering that, heaven is all around you. The magic is within you, and even death itself is an illusion, so like often we think, worst case happening would be death, right? But when you think of you being an infinite and eternal being, like, that's a lot of existence, a lot of lifetimes, a lot of whatever you get up to and morph into. And so, like, even the fear of death itself isn't something to have fear around either. You can just release all that fear, release all that worry, knowing that no matter what, you always are okay and always will be okay. And then the plus side and wonder of that as well is not only releasing all that fear and worry, and stress and what have you from your body and energy that just feels so great to do, but then you're not also kind of, continually hooking and looping yourselves into those more fear-based or, energetic realities that align to those energies of stress and worry, etc. as well too. And you're able to tap more into those, other avenues and corridors of the infinite, realm around us, and those more heavenly type timelines, if you will. Often how they say that, there's nothing to fear but fear itself. Kind of like, that whole idea of that energy is what's kind of, pulling those things in towards you. And so, you don't need to stress and ruminate over things. You just need to let it go, baby. And it can be so hard in this sort of energetic matrix type reality we exist in, so many things popping up trying to distract you or get you in a fear-based state or get you worrying or stressed about things, but kind of remembering that is all sort of temporary and an illusion in itself as well. And so not becoming too fixated or attached to those illusions, and instead curating and governing for yourself the energy within, regardless of what the external is saying or doing, not allowing that to kind of take you off kilter, and if it does, not stressing about that either, just brushing it off and getting back up again. Like that song, I get knocked down, but I get up again. You're never gonna keep me down. You just gotta keep that sort of mentality and mode about it as well, especially as we go through these sort of transitions and what have you. It's not always just a straight and easy path with no bumps on the road. Sometimes you do get knocked back down or dragged back into those sort of fear-based energies or stress or worry, but just knowing that you can always get back up again, release that fear, release that stress, and tap back more into that abundance within yourself, and not paying too much mind or attention to those sort of things going on in your external reality that want to kind of draw those energies of fear and stress and worry out of you. Not having to be completely oblivious that you're just, walking around blind or something. But, just not really feeding into it. Just kind of like, oh yeah, just a bit more mindless towards it. And instead, focusing on the things that do fulfill you up with that more, joy and happiness and vitality and what have you. And, if you're going through those sort of phases where things are a little bit hectic externally, that it's kind of hard to, find that silver lining or to kind of, see the light at the end of the tunnel in that aspect. Just really working on just releasing those energies of fear and stress, remembering that there truly is nothing to worry about, and that you can kind of alchemize that energy within yourself regardless of what's going on, you know, around you, knowing that you are infinite and eternal. So like, whatevs, you know, and nothing lasts forever, you know. Nothing's going to be in a permanent state of disarray or what have you. There's always, you know, brighter days to come, as they say. So not having fear and stress and worry in that regard. So not being afraid to shut out the noise in that sort of way, if you will, and just dance to the beat of your own tune. And just, you know, knowing as well that the more we keep kind of, you know, trudging through that, the easier it'll get for yourself, and also the easier it'll get, you know, for the rest of us, to a point where that's just such a more normal state of reality, and a lot more of those sort of, you know, fear-based energies and stress and worry type, you know, energies and frequencies and chapters and tunnels of reality, if you will kind of be, you know, dropping away, and won't really be something that we're kind of, you know, picking up and attuning to, kind of just like a channel on the radio station we just no longer tune to. And so just, you know, remembering in that sort of aspect, you don't have to just allow the external reality or, you know, other factors or what have you to choose for you what channel you're listening to, if you will. You know, you don't have to let those things be deciding for you. And, you know, if you find yourself just, you know, in automatic mode where your body just happened to, you know, tune to those sort of channels that aren't so great to listen to, of, you know, like fear, stress and worry, etc., just, you know, remembering that you can tune yourself back to another channel to listen to, if you will. And, you know, the more that you kind of do that sort of work with yourself, with your mind and body, the more like easier it will become, and the more that'll just be the natural state that it just refers to and and aligns to just automatically. And, you know, although completely, you know, releasing fear and stress and worry may not, you know, stop all sort of, you know, terrible or not so great things from happening, or at least not right away, but still also, you know, remembering that being in states of fear or, you know, stress and worry and stuff like that doesn't help, doesn't ever help the situation at all either, you know. So it's not helpful to the situation, it doesn't make you feel great, it's really kind of, you know, not really serving any purpose at all, at least not for your own benefit. You know, and just remembering as well that, you know, not being in a state of, you know, fear or stress or worry or panic or what have you doesn't mean you don't care either when, you know, certain things arise or what have you. You can still have, you know, empathy and still care about things and be compassionate without, you know, delving into those energies of fear and stress and worry that are just, you know, bringing you down. You know, it can be hard to do at times, but knowing that, you know, that doesn't mean you're being, you know, like selfish or careless or anything like that. You're allowed to release yourself from those burdens and from those energies of fear, stress and worry. That's not, you know, something you have to be connected to, and it's not, you know, something that makes you admirable or honorable or anything like that. You know, it's just a slippery little slope of illusion and tricks to keep you, you know, hooked into different planes of existence, if you will. So, you know, releasing all that, you know, releasing the guilt and the shame, as well as, you know, the fear and the stress and the worry and the doubt, just all those sort of lower, denser frequencies and energies, just brushing them away. All right, well, you know, just a quick little one that I might end here now, but just a great little reminder as always. All right, well, sending you so much peace, love, light, and blessings as always. Bye.